Hey everybody, it's been a while since we put together any content for the channel, but I want to do a quick video on a 5-hour video by Altian Childs, I believe his name is. He was a former X Factor winner or actor or something like that. But he did he did kind of an expose on exposing Satanism and Freemasonry, trying to just expose the world religious system of Satanism and how it is highly organized and working behind the scenes in our modern day world. And so I went through this 5-hour video, and I wanted to just talk about some of the big takeaways that I got from that presentation, because I know most people aren't going to sit through something like that. And also just to kind of get this channel back on its feet. We've kind of been offline for a while, just trying to situate some different things in our lives. So 3 of the things I'd like to talk about are the lack of preaching in the mainstream evangelical church against Satanism and Freemasonry, the science of witchcraft, and what we're approaching now is what they call the Great Work, which would be the Great Reset, or the restructuring of our society towards a new system, a completely new world order, a new system. And different people will call it different things, but we're seeing that with COVID-19, with a lot of what's going on. But anyway, let's hit this first point: lack of preaching from the pulpit, the Christian pulpit, against Freemasonry and Satanism. Now, Altian Childs makes a very good point in his video, is that Freemasonry is the cover or the shroud of organized Satanism. And he says that it is the filtering process through which candidates are then selected to go deeper into organized Satanism, to learn the art of witchcraft and of the occult practices. It's interesting because I have met a handful of Freemasons in my life, and many of them were 32nd degree or lower. And one thing he mentioned is most people do not make it past the 32nd degree, and they stay at the level where they still think they are. Or he made a comment: what happens when you combine Satanism and Christianity? You get Freemasonry. And I thought that was a very interesting comment, because the Freemasons I've always met have always said, "Oh, this is just a fraternity, business fraternity. We do humanitarian aid projects." And in this presentation, he makes Altian Childs makes a very clear point. He's like, "No, these people do not know the true origin and purpose behind their organization, because they haven't been initiated into the higher levels." And he says this is how secrecy works. You slowly reveal more and more of your organization to those who you deem worthy, and people who are at the 32nd degree are not worthy. Now, this is his opinion, of course. So I think this is very interesting, because if he is correct, and I've heard this from quite a few other sources, again, we're dealing with secret societies and occult groups, which by nature are hidden, so getting information on them is difficult. When we talk about this, his goal in making this video was to help people understand that the world we live in is, number one, it's religious. It is run by religious people. It is not run by atheists. And I think this is the great trick that has been pulled over most of the contemporary world, is that most of us, the world we think of it as an atheistic world, a naturalistic world. It's actually not. That is how you create fools of people, because and this is something I've understood for a long time, is that the people at high levels understand that there is a God. Now, who is that God is the question. Is it Jesus Christ, or is it Lucifer? And so this is interesting, because they have convinced. So the way their religion works, Satanism, is it is through secret or sublime wisdom. It isn't through it isn't a clearly spoken message all the way Jesus Christ works. He speaks openly for the whole world to come to him. So very, very interesting there, and a lot could be said on that. We'll probably do a podcast on that. But the lack of preaching against Freemasonry and Satanism, kind of getting back to this main point, is I am realizing that Christians do not understand the Church of Satan. They do not. And what I mean by church is church. Ecclesia means gathering, I believe, in Greek. So we have the gathering of Christians, right? But are there people with the same zeal as the missionary in Africa, or what is it, like, was it Jim Elliot? I forgot, who went off and he died in South America. Are there people with the same zeal for God, for Jesus Christ, as there are for Lucifer? And I think this is what we as Christians don't understand, is that Satanism is not just a coven here and there. It is organized and it is powerful. And I think we don't understand that, because we have been deluded and caught off guard by that. And so this is his main point, and it's amazing. You see a guy who is coming out of Freemasonry, who was part of the cabal, so if you want to call it that. And he is then saying, we need to wake up to the reality of how sinister and evil and wicked the world is. So that's one aspect of it. The science of witchcraft. This is something else that stuck out to me during this video, and I could talk about a lot of different things. He really, and this is something I've kind of noticing as I studied the Operation Paperclip, the Nazi scientists coming over, just seeing how high-level science sometimes and very often had a direct tie to a cult or occult rituals practices. And what he was saying very clearly is that this rituals are a science, controlling demonic entities, summoning things, getting secret knowledge, learning how to create advanced technologies was through and by rituals. And this is kind of interesting because as we look at the last 100 years, the massive developments in the tech and science industries, we look at someone like, I think his name was Jack Parsons. I forgot his name, but he was part of the rocketry program, but he was involved in occult sex magic rituals and stuff like this. And yet he is one of the fathers of the rocketry program here in America. And so to me, it's interesting that we don't hear about stuff like that, or Isaac Newton and his alchemy. He also was translating the book of Revelation. There's just a lot that we're not seeing the full picture on. And I think what he was really saying is that there is an entire science to witchcraft. And it's interesting because the Bible talks about this. Do not do witchcraft. Do not do these things. But we in America, this doesn't exist. And really the greatest trick the devil ever played on us is he doesn't exist. He does. And so what I think is very interesting is we have people who understand these occult sciences, okay, of witchcraft, and they're using it against the people to control them. And the second thing, it's interesting, I'm approached by a lot of people and they ask me, especially where I work, oh, what do you think of weed or marijuana and drugs? And I think it's interesting because we as Christians, I don't always hear a good answer. The Christian evangelical answer is, oh, you don't want to be controlled by anything, like alcohol. You don't want to be out of your right state of mind. Okay, that's an okay reason, but what about, isn't it witchcraft? Isn't that what drug use is? Pharmakia, pharmaceuticals. I'm not sure if that's a valid connection to make there, but the idea is that when you put yourself in an altered state of mind through the use of certain chemicals, you're opening yourself up to the spiritual realm, which I think is interesting. There's a variety of papers that have been published that people who end up with psychological conditions, serious schizophrenia, they open themselves up to that, or they started with the use of drugs. Now, the question is, what makes lavender essential oils different from marijuana or tobacco? Why are certain plants off limits, or substances off limits, and some are okay? So I think our understanding of medicine in itself is flawed because we don't know why things are bad all the time. Is it because of the effect it produces? So again, if we kind of step out of the naturalistic frame of mind, which so many of us are in, and we start to look at these chemicals and we start to say, okay, do these things open us up to the spiritual realm? As Christians, this is off limits. We are not allowed to go there. Why? God is protecting us from that. Okay? So very, very interesting there. And my last point that I want to talk about is the great work. And I've been kind of seeing this is what Luciferians and Satanists they're working towards, their new age of Aquarius, or the new age, the new satanic world, whatever. Revelation would call it maybe the system of the beast, where Lucifer, Satan's man of the hour, the Antichrist, finally steps onto the world stage. So it's interesting because when you read a lot of occult writings, they talk openly about this. They openly talk about bringing their king forward, King Lucifer, because he is the good guy. To them, Lucifer is God. They believe his lie. You will be like God. I mean, they really see, and this is interesting because as I kind of wrestled through Calvinism and some at least deterministic Calvinism, I'll say this, and other things, I started to realize that certain Christian theology actually caters to the satanic understanding of God. God is good. God is the good guy. And it's very interesting because in Satanist or Luciferian theology, they actually see Lucifer as the one bringing or giving free will. So as Christians, we really need to deal with God and love and the tree of knowledge of good and evil to really see God being the one giving free will, not Satan. It's very interesting, but most Christian theologians don't go there. They don't understand that. And the reason I bring up Calvinistic determinism is because when we start having God being the cause behind evil, sort of, it becomes very tricky for our theology and actually fuels what the Satanists are doing. Doesn't mean they're right, but it actually fuels their thinking, and it's completely wrong because God is good. God is love. God is the one who is creating free will to create relationship with him. He isn't a taskmaster. Very important things. So, but the great work, I don't want to get off track too much, is them bringing in this, and I would argue the end times beast system, as God has prophesied and predicted will happen. But they speak openly of this in their occult writings, and Altian Childs goes through a variety of authors. It's an excellent expose, and I'd like to put the link in there, but it's probably going to be taken down soon. But if you put it on 2x speed and you just blast through it, I think you'll learn a lot. Anyway, this is a quick update video for Manual Override. Hopefully we'll be making more content in the future. God bless you all out there, and I think I'm going to start posting things on Rumble or Odyssey or something like that, just because, I don't know, diversify my audience. So anyway, God bless you guys, and thanks for watching.